Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command, World War II, World at War. I almost said War in the Pacific, but we are returning to Strategic Command, World War II, World at War. This is a grand strategy World War II turn-based game by Fury Software and published by Matrix and Slitherine Games. This is a game that we are, I think, almost 40 episodes into our series with, and it's an interesting situation right now. The war in the Pacific is actually going okay. We've stopped the Japanese drive on Port Moresby. We're starting the counterattack in Burma or in northern New Guinea, but we lack the supply to really drive it home. We have lost Guadalcanal, but that's as far as the Japanese made it. We've basically completely destroyed the Japanese Navy out near the Marshall Islands. If we take a look here, the Japanese are down to 5 naval vessels, of which at least 2 are submarines. So their fleet is really in shambles. There were a series of carrier actions and surface battles out between Eniwetok near the Kwajalein Atolls, and also some back in near Pearl Harbor over the last year or so that have completely crippled the Japanese Navy. The Allied counterattack has begun. We've retaken Kwajalein and Roy Numor. We have bypassed Tarawa, although we may change our mind on that. We also bypassed Eniwetok for the moment. We did make some strikes on it, but we have moved all the way north to Wake Island, where we've landed the 1st U.S. Marine Division up at Wake Island, and we've taken that objective. So we are making progress. My initial thought would be we would take these islands here, and then we'd move in and take Saipan and San Yosef here on Saipan and Tinian and maybe Guam. Take these 3 locations, get those supply bonuses, and then turn north on Japan itself, making a move for the island of Japan and invading the home islands. Not the island of Japan, the islands of Japan. Although in this game, they're pretty much almost all... the rail lines are linked between them, so it's almost treating it like one big island. That would probably leave us to bypassing the Philippines and would probably leave us, avoiding a lot of the Japanese conquests in the southern Pacific because it's not really worth a lot. One thing I've also started doing is the British have landed at Palembang, and they've taken that location. They're going to try and liberate the entire island of Sumatra to take that economic hub of Japan away from them. We will then press on and land on Batavia as well, trying to liberate the Dutch East Indies, which make up a huge part of Japan's income. The one place where we're probably going to struggle to stop Japan is China. They have a huge number of air units in China, and they likely will continue to clobber our forces there. We've rushed in a large number of British reinforcements into the Chinese theater, actually Indian reinforcements, and they're helping slow the tide and prevent a complete breakdown of the Chinese front, but they're really just holding their own. Japan has over 70 ground units. That's more than the British have, and they're slowly whittling us down. On the Pacific front, good and bad news. In France, things are going well. We declared war on Vichy. We took over the capital of Vichy. We've also driven into northern Italy, taking the national morale objectives in Italy of Turin, Genoa, and Milan. We have also invaded through southern France, and we are not that far from Paris, actually, although there are heavy German units that have technological advantages over us that are holding us up from making too much more progress at the moment. We're trying to get more headquarters and more support into Europe. We don't have enough, really, to continue the offensive that we're launching in there, but we're making our best. We've taken over Spain, which joined the war temporarily on the side of the Axis. They've been knocked out of the war. We just took over Tunis. They will likely fall. We'll probably drive on Algiers next turn, take that, and then after that we'll divert all of these troops here in North Africa into southern France, into Italy to reinforce the troops there to really strengthen our situation here. That's the situation that we find ourselves in. It is January of 1943. The one area where things look really bad is the Russian front. Moscow has not fallen, but you can see it is in dire shape. German troops have formed a pocket to the east and taken Ryazan, which we have not been able to retake despite serious counterattacks. German armor has driven north of Moscow as well and appears to be trying to flank the major defensive line in front of Moscow. Leningrad is nearly encircled with the national morale objective of Volkhov, the only thing that's left, and we have a tenuous rail link up through Belomorsk, back to Archangel, and then back down toward Moscow currently, as long as we hold this objective. But you can see here we've got a massively outnumbered Russian host. In the south, the situation is even worse. There is a German armored unit that has taken Kuybyshev, which is an alternate Soviet capital. We have one special forces unit here that's facing off against them in front of Perm, the second alternative capital. If we lose both of those in Moscow, we lose the war for the Russians. And there's an individual German armored unit striking south into the heart of sort of southern central Russia, near Ariskakran, and they've also taken Stalingrad. Meanwhile, there's a heroic garrison unit here that keeps defending against 3 enemy ground units here in front of Grozny in the mountains here, but the Caucasus is bound to fall in the near future, and there's not much we can do about it. Once Russia's out of the war, the situation becomes dire. There's 20 Italian ground units. There are 112 German ground units. The Russians still have 26, but if you take the Russians out of the equation, the British and the Americans combined have a total of 68 units, and a large number of those units, at least for the British, are in other theaters, so it would be very difficult for us to counter them. We do have 14 Indian units. Most of those are in the Pacific. The naval situation, Germany has 20 naval units, but I'm pretty sure almost all of them are submarines. We've done a little bit of damage there. Or sorry, those are air units. They have 15 naval units. I think the majority of them are submarines. The naval aspect is the one area that we're way ahead of them at, both in technology and in numbers, whereas the air area, the Germans are ahead of us. So that's the situation right now. If Russia falls, I fully expect we'd be ejected from the continent. They'd retake Spain, drive all these forces out and destroy them. But there's a chance we could force only a minor defeat if we can hang on to England and prevent a German cross-channel invasion, which I would hope we have at least enough income to do that, especially if we can finish the Japanese off. But that's the situation, and I'm kind of out of breath. Whew. So that. Anyway, we've already done our turn. We've already spent our money. There's only one thing I want to do, is I'm going to go ahead and throw MacArthur onto a transport. And I'm going to go ahead and get him out of here. See if we can get him all the way up north. We can. Up to Roa Namur. We'll put him ashore there. I don't know if that does anything for naval supply. It may or may not. But I do think it makes sense to have a headquarters further forward. I don't know if it ends up assigning these naval units to him or not, if that'll help, because he's not obviously the Marines. But we'll see. Anyway, that, I think, is it for this turn. We spent those points for the Americans to transport that guy by sea. Is there anything else we need to do? We do have one other unit that I already put them on transports here. It's the 3rd Marine Tank Division. They're down here in the south. Let's actually move them north to support that drive on the Japanese up here. We'll move him up here. We'll keep him in the American sea zones where you can see we have much better supply situations going. And then we'll take that armored unit here and maybe overwhelm any VTOC. It's a national morale objective, so we should take it. And again, if we're going to take these 3 islands here and then drive toward the Marianas, we should definitely try and take that base as well. Meanwhile, this light cruiser for New Zealand is also going to move. We're going to go ahead and put it off the coast of Finnershafen, or Finnish... I'm so bad with words. Finnshafen? Well, maybe that is how you pronounce it. I don't think that is. I think it's like Finnish Air or something. But anyway, to try and blockade this port, which will reduce the supply of the Japanese SNLF force here and allow us to more easily attack and drive them back. I don't really think there's a huge value in retaking Northern New Guinea. There's no national morale objectives there, but it could allow us to better flank Rabaul and make moves there. Meanwhile, von Schawan, thank you for the follow. Noel331, thank you for the follow as well. So, that being said, let's go ahead and end the turn, and let's see what happens. I'd love to be able to use my French points. Allied occupation of Milan lowers Italian national morale. The loss of Genoa lowers Italian national morale. And the occupation of Turin lowers Italian national morale. Tunisia surrenders. We get 22 MPP from them. UK cruisers are deploying for service, so we're getting free naval units. The one thing we don't need in the Indian Ocean. Yes, the U.S. develops level 4 tanks. That is very good news for us. Also level 3 fighters, so that is also very good news for us. We need to start building them. We have almost no tanks and very few fighters. Okay. Almost all the UK economy right now is going into propping up the USSR. 208 MPPs going to the USSR from the UK. Germany's reinforcing Bologna. Or at least the troops there. It's raining, meanwhile, in the south of Italy. So air units there won't be able to do much. Japanese submarines here attacking our light cruisers down there. German subs attempting to escape. Some Romanian troops being brought in toward Nantes. German armor shifting around a little bit in Russia. Another turn of bad weather, it looks like, in February, so that's good for us. Hopefully we've got at least one more turn of winter before the brakes come off the German military. They get huge penalties for operating in winter in the USSR, but once it becomes spring, then they are vastly more effective. So I'm suspecting the USSR has just a couple of months to live. Okay. Holy shit, we lost half our fighters intercepting their bombers there in China. Meanwhile, Japanese strategic bombers doing a lot of damage to us there. Nearly destroyed a Chinese army just there in one fell swoop. The Axis Air Force, meanwhile, just did destroy the garrison that had been hanging on for so long near Grozny. So they completely cleared that mountain pass with air. Meanwhile, large amounts of German artillery supporting attacks in the Moscow front. Interesting that they're doing it now when it's still winter and not waiting for the spring. They may break our army here south of Leningrad. This army has also been hanging out for a really long time, been surviving a lot of adversity. Counterattack on the coast of France against the Portuguese forces there. Japanese forces continuing to move here in southern China where the weather is good. Actually, the weather is good in northern China, too. A general offensive there. Italian troops attacking on the Moscow front, nearly destroying that Russian army. If their armor attacks again, they probably will destroy it. Meanwhile, the headquarters to the east of Stalingrad nearly destroyed. We'll see if it hangs out any longer there. Chinese army there in front of the Chongqing Road, just driven back. Not quite destroyed. It still has one hit point left, assuming it doesn't get bombed, so that might have been a saving grace to have them retreat. All right, Grozny has fallen. Japanese troops continue to move toward Umrichi along that northern roadway in northern China. German counterattack near Bologna against British Special Forces units goes nowhere. German Tiger tanks wipe an American unit off the map north of Tours. Their heavy armor is very difficult to deal with in this game. Russian force to the south of Moscow, they're just destroyed by German armor. Okay, reinforcements moving toward Venice. 049 will see you now. Thank you for the follow. By the way, guys, let me know if you can hear me okay. It looks like it's good, but let me know if you can't. I think that's probably it for the turn. Cool. Thanks, Famal. All right, German army there suffers some attrition. Those guys are cut off and also suffer attrition. Operation Axis. Germany seizes Italian territory after Mussolini is removed from power. Nice! The Italians are out of the war! Albania is liberated. Yugoslavia is liberated because both of those were Italian states. Italian partisans are attacking German supply lines. That's a big deal, guys. The Italians had over 20 ground units and 5 or 6 air units. One of their air units actually helped finish off that garrison in Russia. That is a huge deal that Italy is now out of the war. There is one silver lining for the Axis, and that is it could actually improve Germany's economy, because Germany was not getting any economic bonus for having Yugoslavia, and now they will get all the economy from Italy as well. So their income will probably actually go up because I have no way to prevent them from retaking Yugoslavia, which means that it could actually help the Germans in the long term, but at least in the short term, it might be good for us. It also weakens their forces on the Italian front because we do know that the Italians had several units in Russia as well. Meanwhile, Eisenhower has arrived, so we'll go ahead and deploy him on the U.S. East Coast. The Soviet Union gets a 26th Army and a 1st Shock Army. The Indians get the Bengal Corps. We're going to go ahead and upgrade these tanks before I send them across the ocean. So we've got level 4 tanks now, so we're going to go ahead and purchase that. We'll get them anti-aircraft weapons as well as mobility. So this is going to be the best armor we can buy, and we're going to ship them across the ocean in the next turn. We just spent a good chunk of the American economy on it, but can't be helped. Must be done. All right, move this guy here to Farrell. American garrison coming ashore at Corona. La Corona. Do we have any other units, naval units coming out? We've got the 1st Corps of Mexico. Yes, you read that right. Mexico's army is on its way. An actual very good corps there, by the way, too. Completely upgraded and ready to fight. Okay. Alright, so it's raining in France, which is going to ground most of my air units. Although some of them are ready. I need to deal with these German heavy tanks. The problem is I don't know how. We have a couple of tactical units that can attack, but the British tactical units are not very good. We're cutting off German supply at Saint-Nazaire with our surface task forces. Let's go ahead and hit these guys with our carriers. The wings will probably get chewed up by German fighters, but that's the intent, is to force air battle and weaken the enemy so then our tactical air can come through largely unscathed. I don't think I'll actually do any damage to the German armor. Okay, so we used up 2 of their interceptors there. Do we have any other carriers that can get up there and attack this turn? I doubt they have the range. Doesn't look like it. Well, they're also in bad weather. Damn. I had hoped that we could do something with that. What about our strategic bombers? Will that draw any interceptors? Doesn't look like they have any interceptors left, so our strategic bombers will hit Tours. They're already pretty damaged. We'll do it anyway. Our attack air will try and hit his armor here too. The only saving grace is the enemy might lose some morale. We did actually do a little bit of damage there against his armor. His morale is also down now. So what's his morale at now? 46? That's not very good for him. Can't do jack shit against him, though. God damn it. Alright, meanwhile, now that Italy has fallen, as much as I would like to, like, drive south and try and take Rome, I need to do this intelligently, I think. So we'll reinforce these guys. Try and reinforce these guys. Move these anti-aircraft guns to Turin. These guys really need to upgrade. Hey, at least we can use some of our... Oh, no, it's coming out of the British money. What's the point of having French money if you can't use it? Ah! Can any of these guys get on transports? No. The ports they're in aren't good enough. Well, if they can't use that, we might as well declare war on Algeria. Finish them off. I know they're not Axis yet, but they are slightly leaning Axis, so anything I can do to remove a potential threat in our rear. Got him! That's probably the only Algerian force there. I need to get these guys to places where they can load up on ships. They're stuck. In any event, Algiers will surrender next turn. I can't buy anything with French money. The only thing I can buy is, like, Polynesian troops. Can these guys upgrade? Yes. Okay, we need level 3 tanks. Mobility probably too. So we'll upgrade that armor. Upgrade these troops to level 10. Brazilian troops are going to be a little bit of cannon fodder there. Reinforce. Well, these Canadian troops should have better supply than that, I would have thought. Alright, we'll move into Dijon here in southern France. Move these troops forward toward Paris. Reinforce those guys. Alright, we'll move these guys forward, I think. Where do I want to move? I don't know. I need more troops in... Fact of the matter is I need more troops in Italy. But I also need to make sure that I don't send in troops who can't fight. Because they're not good enough. Alright, so we're going to send these troops in. Okay, so we're reinforcing the Italian front with at least enough men, I think, to hold the line. Move anti-aircraft guns forward here. Move this American mechanized formation forward. Actually, these special forces, do they have a headquarters? They don't. Throw these guys on transports, bring them into La Spezia, and... Oh, I can't unload them at Genoa? We'll have to wait a turn, I guess. We'll unload them at Genoa next turn. Assuming we don't lose the city. Alright, I'm going to move these carriers over into the Atlantic to support the front in Europe. I'm going to move these destroyers that I have over here to shield my capital ships that are besieging the port of Saint-Nazaire. Also put some off Brest to try and eat into the supplies there. Mainly using these destroyers here to shield the carriers from potential enemy subs. Canadian destroyer. I don't want to spend that money on that yet. Alright. Also, they may divert some of their tactical air to fighting our navy rather than our... It's bad weather, so I can't use my air forces in England yet either. But I'm curious to see how much TAC air they actually have around here also. So you can see here they have a fair number of ground troops in France. Probably about comparable to me. They have very little armor, though. Be great to be able to sneak in and take Paris from behind. There's also the threat of the enemy coming in from Germany down here. need more money for reinforcements, but I can't afford it. By the way, I just noticed that that marching sound effect, I'm pretty sure, is the exact same marching sound effect as is in Civil War Generals 2 by Sierra from the 1990s. Meanwhile, there's German garrisons throughout Belgrade and in Yugoslavia. I imagine they'll swoop in and take Belgrade next turn, but maybe not. These guys have no supply. I don't know if they can move. Be interesting to see what he does with his troops down near Rome. Also, it looks like Sicily is completely unoccupied right now. Too bad I can't put anyone on transports. Be great to land these troops in the south and then advance up toward Naples if he's trying to pull his troops north, and then we could catch him between two forces. Let's take this American destroyer up here too. Okay. Alright, so that's the Western Front, I think. Russia, what are we going to do? Alright, these guys... How are they not dying? They have no supply. They should definitely be dying from attrition. The weather is actually good right now, which is terrifying. How are you guys doing no damage to these guys? They're cut off with no supply. These German tanks can't have any supply either. Alright, so we've cut off this army at least, for the time being. Okay. That's great. Just great. Yeah, I feel like Moscow will probably fall. Hopefully not this turn, but maybe in a turn or two. Let's move these guys here. Then I'm going to bring in one of my new units, and I'm going to put them in Moscow. Shock Army. 26 Army will wait on. Did we have partisans rise up in Smolensk? It kind of looks like it. Looks like there's a pocket there. Meanwhile, we'll reinforce these guys. We'll just hold in the north. Okay. Oh, I think these might be areas where the Italian troops left. So that's kind of interesting because there must have been Italian troops here, and now maybe some partisans rose up where the Italians vacated their territory, like in Smolensk or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see if that affects the German supply situation at all at the front and hinders their ability to advance. It looks like some of these guys have like very little supply. Like these guys have 3 supply. These guys have 3 supply. Now I don't know if that's a headquarters issue or if it's because it's still technically winter. I'm not really sure. But it sure would be great to be able to do something with that. Let's go ahead and place this new unit. I don't know where to put this guy. They could move toward Volgogda. But to me, it makes more sense to pack more troops in near Moscow, so that's what I'll do. Meanwhile, new units. The Russians have 350 points left that we can use to purchase stuff. So we probably should purchase some stuff. Armor would be 180. How much would an army be? 188. What about a shock army? 300? No thanks. So we will... Anti-tanks feel like they'd be super useful also. Or even heavy tanks. We'll go with one mechanized unit. We'll go, I think, with one army. Alright. So we should be getting some new units again next month. Some in March and then a bunch in April. Assuming we survive that long. The problem with the AA units is they won't survive long enough to be useful, unfortunately. Meanwhile, with diplomacy, is there anything see, like, I don't understand the Free French or the Polynesian French troops. Like, I don't understand it. I can't purchase anything with them. Maybe when I retake Paris, I don't know. Why are you giving me income for troops I can't do anything with, I guess is my point. Alright, let's wait on the British troops in India for the moment. These guys have a little bit of supply, so they'll keep attacking this headquarters, and maybe they'll get lucky. Meanwhile, these guys... Alright, let's attack the troops in Inning. Pull these guys back, pull these guys forward. British anti-aircraft units moving forward here, hopefully to help the situation in Japan a little bit. Reinforce our troops where we can. This Chinese army was almost destroyed, so we can reinforce it fully. Move this headquarter unit back, move these troops down to hold Xi'an. Hopefully these troops in the north can hang on for a little bit. I would have thought they could have done better against Japanese troops with 2 supply, but apparently not. Yes! We destroyed a Japanese army right there. Good result there, boys. We'll also advance with those Indian Special Forces to try and force him to move his air units there. British or the Indian forces will reinforce their fighter unit there. These Indian troops definitely need air cover. You know, I'm going to shift some of these troops north. Move there. Okay, so we've got amphibious troops. Is there anything? Can I get a visual on anything in here? I don't think they have troops here. So we'll take Kuching, which is the capital of at least the northwestern part near Sarawak, which has Miri in it, which is an oil-producing facility. It'll also cut off this trade route entirely from the Japanese. Oh, nice. I can move south into... Oh, shit. Japanese troops! I was going to say I can move. Alright, I'm going to move these troops up toward Medan. We've almost taken all of Sumatra in the north. Actually, I can now transport these guys to the friendly port at Oosthaven, and I can unload them hopefully next turn. Meanwhile, I'm going to move naval vessels in toward Batavia to try and cut off its supply so that we can quickly overrun these Japanese troops. These guys are going to be low on supply. Alright, in any event, that's a good result. We've taken the oil wells here and here, as well as part of Palembang, so that should help the British economy. I don't know, McGibb. I'm really not sure what the logic of me not being able to buy units is for France. Could be because we don't have Paris, but we did take Vichy, which you would think would count for something. We'll keep the cruiser off the coast here just for the time being. Gonna move these troops here. I'm trying to get more troops north to help with the invasion, but I don't want them to get just isolated at sea and just wiped out because the Japanese have subs and we're moving with transports. Meanwhile, this American long-range transport will move on any Weetalk. Did this guy get any strike back? No, he didn't. I'm not sure why they don't get a strike back. Like, I don't understand if they have to go into the port or what's the deal. The amphibious units use a strike, but then they can't actually... Alright, I'm going to try and blast the hell out of these troops on any Weetalk. Maybe we'll hurt them enough to have our armor do something against them. Be great if we could actually destroy them. My air wings are pretty shot up too. They realistically should probably pull back to Pearl. I would complain about the fact that we're not doing any damage with our bombardments, but that feels sadly historical. The only positive is their morale is damn near in the gutter. Like, I can't land these troops. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well, that's confusing. And frustrating at the same time. Well, now that these guys landed, though, it says they have one strike. So maybe that's what you pay for. The 54 whatever points. Although these guys had unloaded, maybe we have to hold the objective for more than one turn. I'm really not sure. All right, these carriers are going to move over here. Can you do the predicted damage for once? There you go. Okay, Yes, I still hold Midway. Up, or do I? Yep, it's still U.S. up here. I wonder if we could use Marines effectively, or garrison units effectively. Alright, so now that the U.S. just got better tanks and aircraft... Actually, let's see if we can, before we do that. Is there anyone in India that we can upgrade, or in Europe that we can upgrade? Doesn't look like it. What about in England? Yeah, we can upgrade these guys. Alright, so we have 404. I think for the U.S. what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to purchase some new... I wonder if we can't even do heavy tanks yet. Unavailable until July 1st of 43. Well, that's annoying. These cost 300. Expensive bastards. Glad we just spent all our American money on that. Alright. Let's get these British cruisers into action. Now that we know Japan's navy is basically gone. They do have a force at Brunei, so we got to be aware of that. I mean, the goal is really stripping away as much of Japan's potential economy as possible. Okay. I'm really hoping we can... These guys have 1 and 2 supply respectively. One would hope they'd be attritted. Maybe next turn, if I get any supply into this armor, I should move it north to help with the attack on Nanning. Then try and finish off the headquarters unit down there. I think once we take the Marianas, the Japanese start getting some pretty big bonuses for, or not bonuses, but they get like a bunch of free units in the home islands, or maybe that's when we actually approach the home islands. I'm not sure which. Meanwhile, I think that's it for this turn. These level 4 tanks and another American headquarter unit should be nice. Got to get them into Europe as quick as I can. Also, it'd be great to pull this British headquarters unit north into Europe. Get these 3 allied units into Sicily, take Palermo, Syracuse, drive north, and then really it would be awesome if they move north while we're holding the line up here. Then we can bring troops in from the south, take all of Italy there. I don't know. The only saving grace here is that it's a narrow front. What's the supply situation? Not great. It'll improve slightly next turn. Okay. I think that's going to do it for this turn. We're definitely going to play another one. Hey, Kushin, how you doing? If I hold the Dutch East India, their economy can't be very good. Yeah, I mean... Japan will lose a big chunk of their economy if they lose the Dutch East Indies. Granted, they may make it up in what they take in China, but it'll be a big hit, like 100+ income hit to them. I'm hoping that taking Kuching causes Miri to fall into our hands as well. And then also the fact that he's going to lose these oil wells is going to be a big deal. These wells are worth... This well... liberated by the UK. Not sure it tells me what it's worth. National morale value 0. Value 6 MPPs. 9 MPPs. But I don't know if that's also at its reduced strength. Like, the one over here is 3 MPPs per strength point. So these would actually... So if they were stronger, like, this guy's a 5 before we take it. They get reduced when you take an objective. It sort of factors in like, oh, there's combat going on, so it reduces efficiency. So these guys this might have been worth 15 and 15, and so they just lost like 30 income, which was a pretty big deal. It's like 10% of their income potentially. If we look at the reports here and we go to graphs, we go to Japan and their MPPs, you can see, well, when they lost their navy, they lost a lot of MPPs. Their income's way down here. It's below 480. So I expect to see a drop after this loss. Germany, meanwhile, may actually get a pretty big spike. You can see due to the Italian territory that Germany took, it looks like they jumped up just shy of 900. I imagine if they take all the USSR, they may be up like near 1,500. The US, meanwhile, their income's just shy of 700. Britain is just shy of 320, but they're also sending 200 to the USSR, which is getting a lot of free economy. So we'll see. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this turn. It does model submarine effect on commerce, so this red line here is a convoy route. Blue means it's an active Japanese convoy route. Red means we've completely interdicted it because we've taken Kuching, for example. So when you put subs on convoy routes, that decreases trade efficiency, which has an income impact as well. There's a bunch of that stuff around Britain. You can see these are red because the Germans are interdicting these convoy routes, so they're interdicting pretty much all of our convoy routes and making them work less efficiently. If I had spare cash as the Allies, I'd probably be investing in fighting submarine warfare, but at the moment my Navy's completely invested in trying to reduce the supply and the income along the French coast so that we can assist our ground forces currently driving in southern Italy. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this episode of Strategic Command World War II, World at War, our Let's Play series. I think this was episode number 39 in that series. The Allies continue to put pressure on the Germans in Europe, although their offensive is stalling. The Russians continue to hold doggedly to their positions, avoiding any disastrous defeats, and the advance in the Pacific continues, although it has slowed down a little bit. That's going to do it for this episode, though. This was taken from a live stream from my Twitch channel from a couple of days ago. I am going to go ahead and wrap this thing up here. Hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm out.